Tonight on This Week in Walking Dead, we cover ourselves in the entrails of the undead, find out exactly what a geek is, and go over another zombie kill of the week happening right now. Episode 2 of This Week in Walking Dead, where we discuss our favorite show on AMC right now, The Walking Dead. I'm joined, of course, by my lovely co-hosts, Meredith Stokes to my right.
Hello, hello.
Jacob Birch to my left.
Howdy.
And joining us for the very first time tonight, Jason Calacanis is joining us.
And who are you?
I am a super zombie fan.
Super zombie fan.
I'm a huge fan of the zombie genre.
Yes, and that's why we're all here. So now, one of the big things that we talked about, episode 1 was great, right out of the can. We saw exactly what we wanted to see. We saw all of our favorite characters, and now episode 2, some new characters that I don't know if they're going to stick around or not. I mean, we've got Michael Rooker playing a racist, which is interesting, because the fact that after the zombie apocalypse, there can still be racism. Is that something that they're going to kind of pick up on? More than likely still be decisions and stuff like that? Our modern problems will still take place?
Seems, I mean, almost a little stereotypical that it takes place in the South. We'd better have racism, which I thought the book did a decent job of sort of avoiding. It was in the South, but it didn't really play in too strongly into that. Maybe. I mean, I kind of hope not. I like it to keep much more about the things that sort of come naturally with the zombie motif. But I thought they played it well. Okay, let's get it away.
I didn't read it as much as racism as some people in a zombie apocalypse in an emergency situation just lose it, and then other people sort of get their S together big time and they become leaders and they're like on it. Mm-hmm. But then other people, they just lose it and they go haywire and they just want to like beat everybody up, or it turns into something weird. Like in 28, was it in 28 Days Later, or was it 28 Weeks Later, when they go to like a bunch of military guys have the house, and they're basically like, yeah, we're going to just take all these people and rape and kill them and, whatever, turn them into food. But, it's like some people get it together, and other people lose it. And some people do both.
Well, then I'm sure we're going to go into something like the cannibalism, which is a big deal, because that's when people freak out. They're like, we're going to run out of food, and then they immediately resort to cannibalism. So I'm waiting for that episode. I'm sure it's going to come through, where there's like, all right, well, we're going to have to start eating each other. It's just got to happen. Just has to happen.
It doesn't make any sense, though, if there's so much food in the world, and if everybody's dead, there's got to be a lot. And so it's sort of like the gun point. Like they're like, oh my God, we need guns and bullets. It's like, well, if everybody's dead and you have all these vehicles, does anybody have a phone book of like gun stores? You're in the South. There's got to be a million gun stores everywhere. Like
or just find the Twinkie factory, and then you will never ever run out of food. Never run out of food. Exactly. Just find
expire
Twinkie.
for years.
I think Zombieland had that right.
Yeah.
It was just like every time in Zombieland they needed something, it was like, yes, there's a lot of stuff available when the world ends.
And that's the cool thing. I mean, they found the department store. I don't think that there's going to be a shortage of ammo. That was the one thing that always bugged me, is there's always a shortage of ammo. And like you said, I mean, there shouldn't be,
I mean, it would take a long time.
I mean, Rick Grimes in the first episode lost his giant bag of Rambo machine guns, so he doesn't have as many guns as he had. He just has the one pistol. But I'm sure that they're going to come across. I mean, we know that they eventually meet up with the camp guys, because that's where they're on their way to in the end of the episode. So they meet up on the campsite. And now, I know one of the big questions that was bugging me was, what the hell's a geek? And why is it in the episode?
Yeah.
Well, they needed some nickname to give it to him, but why geek?
Yeah.
And you almost feel like they picked a name that, has so much connotation with it, especially with the people who like this show and like the graphic novel, that maybe we're meant to be talking about it. Why did they pick geek? And then later they maybe explain it.
Yeah.
Right. But Glenn still used the word like walker in the beginning of the episode. So it's like kind of, there's switch between walker and geek. Is there a distinction between the two?
When did he call the zombies a geek?
The entire episode. From like 10 minutes on, they all called them geeks. Like, we got like a bunch of geeks outside. There's a bunch of geeks over there. Like, they just called them geeks. It was a weird thing.
I
mean, well, a geek is a circus freak that used to bite the heads off of live chickens. So that's the book definition of a geek. But maybe this is, like you said, this is kind of like their toaster.
Right.
Like, this is their Battlestar Galactica toaster.
Has anybody used the word zombie yet?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So, but are they sort of in some alternate reality universe where zombie films have never existed? Is that what has to happen when you have a zombie movie? Zombies could not have existed already, because then people would actually have been prepared for it, and they would have been aware of the genre. I mean, it's almost better when they're aware of the genre.
Yeah, that has to be the case because, like, I think in Shaun of the Dead, they actually reference like, "Don't say the Z word."
Don't say the Z word.
Don't say the Z word. Yeah,
Not a zombie.
Yeah, I mean that has to be the case because if we all saw zombie movies, I mean, if there was a zombie outbreak today and we walked outside the studio right now, we would know exactly what to do. Aim for the head, find an axe or a shovel, use these things. I mean, this is what we're supposed to do. You know, I don't know. It has to be in the case where there are no zombie movies because they don't call them infected. That's also a really key thing because there are zombies and they're the infected. And then 28 days later, they were infected, which means they were fast. They could run.
Which I can't tell in this show if the zombies are fast or slow because in some scenes they're slow. Right?
Yeah.
And then other scenes, like when he goes around the corner and they all start chasing him, I was like, those are 28 days later zombies.
Yeah, because what they addressed in kind of the Walking Dead lore was that they're slow unless there's a lot of them. And if there's a lot of them and they can get within reach, they will catch up on you very quickly because they're just all moving at this herd is moving at this pace. You know, I mean, cows. Not very rarely will you see a cow run through the farm, but if there's a lot of cows, you have a stampede.
So they can work each other up?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that brings up another question. They use bricks to smash windows, and they can climb fences. Like, do they have any? I mean, in the first episode, we kind of saw that they have this weird, like, cognitive, like, recollection. Like, the wife was able to open the door. She went to her house.
That makes sense. A little bit of that, like they have some foggy memory or like some almost automatic muscle memory.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But
climbing the fence, not so
climbing
much.
the fence? Like, I can't even climb a fence.
Well, I mean, it's how animalistic are they? Because my dog could open my door. I mean, he did it funnily, but he could.
Right.
And that, if,
the
especially
knob?
if they're
He worked
going,
the knob?
yeah,
Wow.
he was weird. Anyways, a big dog and just would hook and do that nonstop.
Yeah.
So you just almost like going back to the cow metaphor. It's just eventually they're going to use the tools, and they have all the digits necessary to pick up a brick and go, this is heavy, let me just smash it in. So it's granted a little zombie artistic license that they're taking to make it more suspenseful,
But they have to do something different because, I mean, in old-time zombie, I mean, the zombie lore that I remember is that they're these brain-dead things, whether they're supernatural, whether they're brought up using science, evil technology, whatever it is, but they can't really move anything. That's why they're so slow. They don't really have complete use of their hands or their digits. But the fact that they could pick up a brick and smash a window, I don't know, that's just kind of weird.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I kind of like it. I mean, it's scarier to think that like a zombie can, infiltrate your house easier than just kind of banging on the window. I mean, it doesn't really go along with a lot of zombie movies, but it's cool to break the rules.
Yeah, I mean, it's something different, that's for sure, and it's definitely going to be different for the zombie world, because every zombie movie that comes out, the next one is definitely going to try to make an homage
It
to
seems
that.
like they're evolving it a little bit, but they're not going crazy. Like they didn't
Yeah.
pick up like a screwdriver
Or shooting
like
a gun or something.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not exactly going too crazy.
Yeah.
tank driving zombies.
With climbing the
That'd be cool.
fence, it sort of does spoil it because fences and getting over a fence is like, hey, I got over a fence, I'm safe. So now if they can start climbing things,
Yeah.
I mean, then they're going to be climbing in second floor windows. It's going to really ruin the whole genre. So I sort of feel like if enough of them are on a fence and it falls over, I'm cool with it. But
Yeah, that's just
or maybe like they can
force.
get one pull up. Like luckily it's something they hook on, but it shouldn't be like once they get like 2 mitts and 3 mitts up.
Well, here's their continuity problem, because they can climb a fence, but at the beginning of the episode, when they went up the building, they can't climb ladders. They're like, oh, we're
Yeah.
safe. They can't climb ladders, but they can climb a chain link fence, which I can climb a ladder. I'm sure everyone here can climb a ladder, but
Yeah.
climbing a fence is difficult. You got to get your foot in the right hole. You got to climb up. I mean, it's not easy to do.
Yeah. And I'm sure these are rules, especially over the first season, they're going to be playing with every now and then until something sort of gets settled in.
Yeah.
And then you know the rules and you know the lore that they've established, but they're still probably trying to figure it out themselves.
Right, and I know one thing that we're not going to talk about the books. I promise we wouldn't talk about the books, but one thing that we were going to bring up is the relationship between Laurie and Shane, which they kind of just completely had in the first episode. In the first 10 minutes, the cold open of the first episode, the second episode, with Laurie and Shane kind of having a very raunchy sex
Once you get
act.
together.
So, I mean, there is a bit of guilt there, and of course there's going to be that human element, which is what we love the show about. I mean, it's not just about zombies, it's about what these people do when there's the apocalypse upon them. So, I mean, is this something... I don't like Laurie. I'm not liking her. She's not likable. I know some of us have seen a little further, so I don't want to say too much, but she's not likable to me. And she's supposed to be the wife of the hero.
I didn't like her much in the graphic novel. I mean, I still haven't done my reread, so it's been a while since I've gone through the first, half of what's out now. But I remember not liking her very much, and that just because, I Frank is so heroic and she, feels he didn't deserve this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think you need to let her establish that character because, let her basically grow into it and grow into the sympathies because it's going to because she still doesn't know Frank's alive. So that's when that hits, and then it's how she deals with the guilt that will define whether or not she's a sympathetic character.
So what we're seeing is episode 3.
AMC has a history of having the wives of the main character not be basically the most hated character.
That is the thing. On
Breaking Bad,
yeah.
Mad Men, Betty's the most hated character. So maybe they're just keeping the tradition alive.
I guess that works. They keep going with it. Well, we know that they reteam in the 3rd episode because they're on their way. We have that very iconic shot of Glenn driving the alarmed car through the empty driveway or the highway, which is interesting how one side of the highway is completely stuffed, but no one on that other side of the highway.
It's because everyone's trying to escape the city, so you can
told
No
tell
one wanted to go into the highway. No one wanted to go into the city.
By that point, they knew.
It was the opposite, wasn't it?
No,
It was people were
it's on
escaping.
the right
that
side,
way, yep.
coming in it's empty, but going out, everybody's trying to get out as quick as possible, and they got caught in their cars. It did not work out well.
Didn't work so well.
Now, why couldn't they fire up the tank? I mean, I think a tank would have, if he could have hot-wired that tank, that would have been sweet. I mean, he would have wiped out a tank would come in very handy in a zombie apocalypse. That's got to be in my top 3 wants in a zombie apocalypse.
How hard is it?
Tank.
How hard is it to drive a tank, though? I mean, I wouldn't know what to do. Is there like levers? Is there a gas pedal?
You don't have to be perfect. I mean, the fact that you're in a tank is a
gotta move
great
it.
start.
Run over some
Nobody's
zombies.
getting you
Yeah,
inside
that's
of
true.
a tank.
That's very true. So, all right. So that brings up the question because there were a lot of department store nonsense and different things like that. Where would each of us go? That was a question that I wanted to ask each of us. Where would you shack up in the zombie apocalypse? I mean, we'll go with you, Jason. I mean, where's your perfect place to shack up at?
Well, obviously a gun store is a great place to start since you have provisions. And a gun store inside of a Walmart where there's awesome provisions and, probably easy to, since it's just a big box, to lock up. It goes back to all the George Romero stuff. But, shopping malls sound like a good place. What I don't understand, though, is if you are in a shopping mall and there are staircases, wouldn't you figure out a way to just, cut the staircases and only have, rope ladders up? If zombies can't climb,
If they can't climb,
this would be a pretty good idea. So I think I'm going, if not on a boat, which a pier and a boat is always good, because if things, if you're in a building, there's a chance they could get in.
Yeah.
But if you were on a dock, Marina Del Rey here or something, or and you had a boat, you could get off the boat when you need to get stuff, make your run for provisions, and then get back on the boat, go 10 feet out, and you're done.
So when the zombies can't swim.
I'm assuming zombies can't swim.
We have no idea. I mean, I
Have
think
you
it
guys
was
seen
Land of the Dead.
Zombie 2?
Zombie. That's right. Zombie
Fights a
2.
shark underwater.
He does get that shark.
That's right. They don't need to breathe, so they could just walk underwater. They could do whatever
Also
they
in
want.
what was it? Was it Day of the Dead
Yes.
with the Romero remake, which was awesome.
Yep.
They actually had one of the zombies become sentient. He was
Yeah.
sort of figured out I'm going to just jump in the water and walk across.
That was the Leguizamo zombie, wasn't it? Yeah, where he was able to climb up and actually kill Dennis Hopper, which was
No, that the big gas station guy.
Oh, that was the one that they carried on for the different films. That's right. Yeah.
And he just jumped in the water and he walked right across the bottom of the river.
Anything that happens before Diary of the Dead was good, but after that,
Yeah,
not so much.
not
So all right, so basically either on the water or a mall where you could blow up the stairs and you could stay on the second level.
Lots of weapons.
My concern about the malls, I've played, and I'm going to blank on the name already. Not Left 4 Dead, the other zombie game. Yep, that other one.
There's another one?
There's the zombie game. I played the zombie game where you're at the mall. You're in a mall.
Yeah.
And there's always people everywhere. They're always hidden in the different
Dead
nooks and
Rising.
crannies. Thank you, Dead Rising.
Yes, sorry.
When I needed
Yes,
you.
yes.
Dead Rising.
A little late.
There are lots of nooks and crannies.
They're all
Granted.
over the place. That's my concern. I want to be a big open area like a gymnasium with a bunch of guns, so that I could just back myself in the corner and just take them all out. There would be
Until
nothing
you run out of bullets.
Until I run out of bullets, or food, or anything else.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's where the shopping mall comes in. Is that it's a big building, but with lots and lots of exits and corridors. So, but it'd have to be a shopping mall that you know. I think knowledge of the territory and
Yes.
possession of keys would be key.
You can kick doors down.
This actually came up. This discussion came up during Halloween. We were watching Shaun of the Dead on DVD, and a friend of mine said, "I'm so excited for the zombie invasion when it happens because I live across the street." And he swears to God, literally next to each other are a used bicycle shop, a samurai sword shop, and a gun shop. And what else do you need? You can go there, get your provisions, and just bike around, slicing heads off. It'd
I
be
like
fun.
that. That's cool. That's very cool. All right, now, Mare, where?
See, I don't think you should shack up in like a Walmart or a mall. I think that you would just die instantly. I think you should get provisions there and then hole up somewhere safe, but I still kind of think that I would die in the zombie apocalypse because I'm terrified. As much as I'd like to think that I'd be a badass and like slice zombies, like honestly, I'd be hiding in a corner somewhere. So I'd like to be with like a big strong man, and he decides where we go, and I'll just follow along.
Yeah, just tears, just
Yeah.
constantly crying.
Tears, crying constantly.
Yeah, just lots of tears. Well, that's cool. All right, so basically wherever we are, except for Meredith, we'd all be hacking and slashing away at zombies, or you'd be watching other people hack and slash away at zombies.
from the corner.
So from that, going back to our favorite show, the Zombie Kill of the Week, which I think we're all kind of unanimous on this. Is that right?
This week, yes.
This week.
There was a heavy debate last week.
Yeah, last week
but-
was very heavy. Let's take a look at the Zombie Kill of the Week from this week's episode.
Smell's washing off, isn't it? Is it washing off?
No, it's not. Well, maybe.
The second episode was that gunfire just draws the zombies because it can hear and it
Yeah.
can smell. Yeah, so axes or shovels are the way to go. The absolute way to
There's
go.
a thud to a shovel. I don't
Baseball
know. I have
bat.
axe.
Axe?
Axe or a
Katanas.
wooden bat. Yeah.
Shovel is good because it's got the sharp ends, and then you could, if they're on the ground, just right in the neck.
Yeah, but hit the skull just right. You're getting a solid thud there.
Yeah.
With a little traction.
Yeah, I got, that's interesting. So we're definitely all four. We agree.
Yeah.
Kill the
Pretty
week-
strong kill. Pretty strong.
Yeah, pretty good one. I mean, there was another one that we debated last week where he was kind of like running through just pot shots, just headshot, which was good.
A great killing sequence,
Yes.
but perhaps not a great kill.
Of the week. Yeah, no, this was
there's,
definitely.
no singularly great kill.
Yeah, he actually used a shovel right after he got out of the tank. He hopped out of the tank and
Yep.
whacked.
I'm a fan of the shovel. I'm just saying if
What's
you
up
went,
with the eating the horse? I don't know if I'm not big. I like dogs and horses and I like them to be spared. I like zombies to just be into humans.
Well, it's meat. Meat is meat.
You
Jeez.
protect the animals, but not the
I
humans.
do sort of feel like it's a little bit of. I mean, the animals have a rough go of it, you know.
They're defenseless.
But isn't haven't others in other zombie genres, films like there's just they don't eat the dogs just sort of safely walk through them?
I remember animals being eaten. I mean, I especially remember Zombie 2 with the shark being attacked,
Yes.
which was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we actually might have to throw that in next week's episode. But I don't know. I think I've seen dogs being eaten by zombies. I mean, if you think about it, meat is meat, right? To a brainless
Brains
zombie.
are brains,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel bad about the horse, though, especially the way they shot it, man. It was
Yeah.
just a smorgasbord of them
gruesome.
eating and devouring that
They
poor
do
horse.
seem to like being extremely graphic
Yeah.
with the gore,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of interesting because that's atypical of television. They don't usually.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first television show I can remember where they're staying on a bloody shot for more than a second.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is pretty violent.
Yeah, well, that was the one thing we saw when we actually watched the original cut of episode 2. We were all convinced, at least the four of us, that they were not going to keep that entire lengthy hacking away at
Yeah.
that poor zombie, who they even gave him a name. They anthropomorphized him so that we know who it is. We know exactly that this is a person, and then they start hacking away, only to make it more just
And they
epic.
kept it the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the exact same. The exact
Same,
same, from the
nothing
rough cut
changed.
to the
Pretty.
final cut.
That scene. I mean, I was feeling a little bit like I may
Yeah.
throw up. At
It
any
was
moment
rough.
here.
I mean, it's no 127 hours. I mean, there's no live arm cutting, but I mean, it was still pretty brutal. And then just putting the guts everywhere, and then Glenn throwing up. It was just
Yeah.
very intense.
It was a good call to establish. I always like when they establish a rule and then demonstrate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like they can smell you, it's not good. But hey, the converse is
Mm-hmm.
if they smell themselves, they're not going to smell you. Good, you know, like gunshot brings them. Like we're going to see that that come up over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you don't want to make too much noise around these guys. Be quiet.
Yeah. And I love Glenn's zombie impression too. When the zombie comes around him and he's sort of like that, he gives him
Yeah.
a little groan. That was great. Little comedy moments is excellent.
I love Glenn as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
So far, like
Yeah, no, he's
he
great.
brought like a cool energy to the show. So
Yeah. Yeah, he's very cool. And I don't see anybody else kind of doing that.
Was it in episode 2 when they reveal what his profession was? Or is that episode 3?
It might be episode 3.
So
I'm
might
not going
be
to say
episode
anything then. But they do reveal what his former profession was.
Yes.
And that's pretty
Really?
cool.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, then we'll have to see.
I behaved and didn't watch episode
No.
3.
I have not
so
watched it either. We got a
I
couple
don't
advance
trust
copies.
myself.
You watched it.
Yes.
And
yes.
4.
Yes.
We're
Back
being,
to back.
We're being yelled
The
at.
second
We're
you
being
had it,
yelled
right?
at.
No
No
spoilers.
spoilers.
No
We're going to keep it
spoilers.
spoiler
I'm not
free.
spoiling, but I'm just asking the question. You had 3 and 4. These two gentlemen were able to not watch it.
Right.
We watched
So is
it.
this the episode where
Right.
Frank dies? Is that
So-
Rick.
I said Frank.
Rick.
You
Rick
got
Grimes.
home and immediately watched
Rick
both
Grimes,
back to back.
that guy.
Correct.
That's exactly
on
what I
on
did.
Halloween, actually. Yes.
I got home. I was like, how was work? I was like, great, I have to watch zombies. And I put it in, and she's like, what, I hate this show. I can't watch zombies. I'm not into it. And I was like, great, come back in 2 hours. I'm watching both episodes back to back, and that's happening.
That was my biggest concern about the show, is that the first episode was perfect to have on Halloween night. But now we're all kind of over Halloween. And it's like we have to, like, every week we have to go back to that world. You know, it's like now that we're going to, I mean, I don't know how I can get into the zombie mindset around Christmas time. It's going to be really interesting to do
That's
that.
very easy for me. I mean, I've been waiting for a long, I mean, what is the mean time between good zombie movies? I mean, it's like 28 days, 20 weeks later. I mean, Shaun of the Dead, it seems like maybe we get a good one every year.
Yeah.
On average. I mean,
Well, it depends. Are you theatrical? I mean, because instant Netflix, like we talked about last week, it has just become the refuge for all of these.
I've been
zombie
looking for good
movies.
zombie movies in there, and I need a little intelligence in my zombie movie.
Yeah.
I can't just have straight up gore. It's got to be.
Some of the older stuff, I mean, it's really good, like any of the Italian stuff, like Zombie or Zombie 2, with
Yeah.
no E, Z-O-M-B-I, because it's
Yeah.
Italian. That stuff was always cool, just because of the stuff that they could pull off. I mean, in Zombie 2, they have, like, the splinter go into the woman's
Yeah.
eye, and, like, it's just, how do they do that in 1973?
Watch
you know?
the extras on the DVD. They'll
Oh, then
explain
they'll
it
tell
for
me. Then
you.
they'll tell me at all. But I mean, that's the cool stuff about this zombie genre on AMC, is that they can do it all. There's absolutely no restrictions. They can get away with a little bit of swearing and a little bit of sex, as the cold open showed us.
Yeah.
And it's all out gore, just glorious gore. Yeah.
And now, how long is this season going to run
6
for?
episodes.
6, and then
That's it?
Yeah.
13 next season.
Yep,
yeah.
they've already greenlit a second season, and it's going to run 13 episodes.
So they really didn't have that. I mean, let's be honest. If you only shoot 6 episodes, you don't have much faith in this.
Well, no, they wanted. I mean, this is the British run. This is exactly what they do on the BBC. You give you 6 really good episodes, and then it's good, and then it's done. Like it doesn't get tainted.
Leave
by
you
other-
wanting more.
Exactly, and that's exactly what they did with Dead Set, which we talked about last week. One of my favorite zombie stories of all time was a British miniseries about basically like British Big Brother. What would happen if the zombie apocalypse happened outside, and they were still in here, and they had no idea that it was happening? And it was a
Wow.
miniseries. I'll have to get you.
Oh
a
my
copy.
God, that's
It's
genius.
amazing.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I didn't know about
2
this.
hours. That's it. It's a miniseries of 2 hours, and then that's it. And that's what
Yeah.
the British do. They do like Doctor Who is 6 or 12 episodes long, and then they just move on, because you cram as many really good episodes as you can into a tiny space, and then you move on. And the next season is going to be 13 episodes, which is perfect.
I mean, this is kind of a personal question, but I don't think I'm up for having sex 2 weeks into the zombie apocalypse. Call me crazy, but I mean, it's sort of like they're in the woods and they can just block out the fact that people are being eaten.
I guess so.
And they can get jiggy with it 10 days into the zombie house. Not me. Sorry, I'm going to be looking
Did
over
we
my shoulder. I'm not-
establish the exact time?
The time,
Well,
yeah.
it has to be about a month, because he grew about a month's worth of facial hair, right?
Right.
Let's call it 3 to 4 weeks. So that's a good amount of time. And then they go right into well, not even 2 weeks after the zombie apocalypse. 3, 4 weeks after her husband is allegedly dead,
Yeah.
Right.
and she's already having sex with a new dude. Like
Yeah.
that's like, oh,
New
he's
dude
dead.
that he worked with.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like best friends. They were like
Yeah.
chums. He was the Tubbs to his Crockett.
So I guess they're very definitively saying this person has a screw loose or something is.
Lori is she's not a likable character, and I think it goes back to what you said. I think AMC just hates women. I think that's what they're doing. They just make these
Married women. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of positive characters. Joan and Peggy O'Malley.
Okay.
But at the same time, I mean, she thinks her husband's dead, presumably. She has a son to take care of. Like, I'm not defending her, but at the same time, like,
What is taking care of her son? That's
Well, no, maybe
I'm
she's
just saying,
taking
like,
the
she's
comfort of
looking-
a man to.
yeah, she's looking for a man in her life to kind
defend
of
her son,
Yeah.
maybe,
I'm not
Yeah.
defending her. I'm just saying.
trying to
maybe
explain the
that's why.
psychological phenomenon
Yeah.
that is occurring here.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just
But
really unfortunate.
that's what I'm trying to get at. What are they trying to say? That she lost it, or that she's not a good person? Like, would you be capable
Right.
of doing this to your own husband? Not knowing if he's alive or dead.
But who's to say it was a zombie apocalypse that started it?
Right.
It could have been
They're-
unshaped.
That's true.
There's a lot of relationships.
Yeah, 'cause
that
they did
when
address
the
they have
zombie
problems.
apocalypse
Yeah.
happens, people are gonna be like, you know what, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Life is too
And
short.
if
There's a
it's the
zombie
case where
apocalypse.
they have a long-running
I can't
affair,
live with you
then-
anymore.
Rick and Lori, Rick addressed in the very first, like the second scene, that he's been having problems
Marital
with
problems,
the
yeah.
marital problems with Lori. So that could very well be the case, that they were just getting it on this whole time, and now like, oh, he's out of the picture.
Divorce
Let's move
rates
on. Yeah, right.
way up in
after the zombie
after the
apocalypse.
house.
Those lawyers after the zombie apocalypse, they're skyrocketing.
One thing sort of tangential, but sort of bringing things back. People are talking about whether or not you can like The Walking Dead without being a zombie fan. I'm a case example. I've seen Shaun of the Dead, original Day of the Dead, a few other things, but for the most part, I'm not hugely into the zombie lore. And then bringing in, can we enjoy a zombie movie that doesn't really take place during Halloween? And I think a key thing that can really tie those two things together is when we start seeing seasons, when they start doing, they might even have a Christmas episode, who's to say, where it's like, it's it's snowing outside in Atlanta or wherever they end up, and they have to deal with the human emotions of Christmas during a zombie apocalypse.
Right.
Or a really, really, really hot Atlanta day
Yep.
during the zombie seems to be probably the worst day in the world. It's hot, muggy, and you have to try and get slimy things off you.
Yeah.
So.
It's gonna get dirty.
But I think there's the time element, the fact that it's not going to be an autumn day in a cabin, allows them to really deal with the human elements of here's my day to day, and now I have to deal with this
That'll be good.
geek chewing at me.
The geek, the epic geek, or the walker chewing at them and climbing fences. So with that, I know that we want to take a look at next week's sneak peek. So we actually have a clip
An
from next
episode
week.
I haven't seen.
And neither have I. So I'm looking forward to it. So let's roll that clip.
Merle! Get your glass out here. Got us some squirrel. Stew 'em up.
Daryl, you slow up a bit. I need to talk to you.
About what?
About Merle. There's a problem in Atlanta.
He dead?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there is or he ain't.
No easy way to say this, so I'll just say it.
Who are you?
Rick Grimes.
Rick Grimes? Got something you want to tell me?
Your brother was a danger to us all. So I handcuffed him on a roof, hooked him to a piece of metal. He's still there.
Hold on. Let me process this. You saying you handcuffed my brother to a roof and you left him there?
Yeah.
Hey, watch the knife. Okay. You best let me go.
Nah, I think it's better if I don't.
Chokeholding's illegal.
Hey, file a complaint.
Come on, man. We'll keep this up all day.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that? You think we can manage that? What I did was not on a whim. Your brother does not work and play well with others.
It's not Rick's fault. I had the key. I dropped it.
Couldn't pick it up?
Well, I dropped it in a drain.
It's supposed to make me feel better. It don't.
Maybe this will. Look, I chained the door to the roof so the geeks couldn't get at him with the padlock.
It's got to count for something.
Hell with all y'all. Just tell me where he is, so I can go get him.
He'll show you. Isn't that right?
I'm going back.
Chokehold's illegal. I love that scene. But even in this scene, you can see that Laurie is kind of giving that just dead face, like, whatever. Gonna beat up
just
guys.
hate her.
Like, that's great. I mean, Norman Reedus, Boondock Saints, he's going to be at the episode, and he plays Michael Rooker's brother, which is even better. You get your two known actors playing brothers of each other, not just brothers, racist redneck brothers. And that's fantastic. Actually, Jason, you brought up a good point that rednecks would be perfect in the zombie apocalypse.
There's a series, Munster Island, Munster Planet, Munster Nation, and in it, it's a great book series. I doubt it'll get made into a movie because,
You never know.
But you never know.
Yeah.
I would like to make this movie. But in it, they basically say the warlording areas in Africa are the ones that are the most resistant to zombies because everybody's got an AK-47. Like the 15-year-old kids have, or in South America, the drug lords. Like all of the people who are armed up to the hilt already, which includes rednecks and warlords around the world, they're going to be fine. And also, you got a Jeep or a truck of some type. It's already got massive amounts of weapons in it. You have a weapon collection and tons of ammo, and you know how to use it. I mean, let's face it, people in the main cities like New York
We're screwed.
or LA, they're like, I'm sorry, where's the safety? You know, how do I take
Where's
the safety
my
off this
Starbucks?
thing? You know, like they don't even know how to load a gun.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
and the idea of killing somebody. I mean, what I have to say, Michael Rocker's character. What is Michael Rocker's character's name?
I don't even remember. It was
Anyway,
Jeb or
redneck.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
redneck number
So
one.
redneck.
Yeah.
I have to say, if somebody's being that much of a distraction, and listen, I'm the best guy to be with in a zombie apocalypse because I'm just a natural leader, and I'm looking to kill somebody. So depending on the day, and I would have just shot him right on sight. I would have been like, you know what? You're not with the team. You're against it.
Yep.
You're not a team
we have
player.
to worry
Boom.
about
Great last line there, guy.
10,000
Yep.
zombies. We can't deal with your nonsense. I would have just shot him.
Yeah.
Shot on sight.
Yeah.
Command decision.
That's what we thought. I mean, after the second episode, we're all convinced that he's dead. Like, there's no reason. But now Rick or whoever has to go back into Atlanta and go get this racist redneck and get him out.
I
That's the
thought
worst.
that was probably the two best plot lines so far. Is like one being trapped in a tank,
Yep.
and two leaving a guy on a roof. I mean, those are two
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Like, kudos to the people who wrote this because those are just two great situations. You know, like that's what zombie stuff is about: a situation, a problem, and then a solution.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have preferred the solution that the tank was
They could
driven,
drive it away.
at least for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that whole scene is great, and I hope that we see more of Michael Rooker because he's a great actor. I love him even in as obscure as Mallrats and stuff like 8 Men Out. I mean, he's great.
And since we saw the clip, I mean, it's not a spoiler to say what was he carrying in that clip.
What was he carrying in the clip?
He was carrying a weapon in the clip.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. So he had the crossbow.
He has a crossbow.
He has a crossbow. So we do see crossbows. We do get the action that we want. That's what we want. Because I mean,
It's not a spoiler to say he was carrying a crossbow.
No, no.
And one could infer that if you had a crossbow, you might keep it with you
of course.
and use it further down the line when encountering zombies.
Well, because A, crossbow, ranged weapon, and B, no noise. No noise.
I
There's
mean,
no
it
gunfire.
does seem like
Yeah, it
and,
was a-
and reusable
But
and reusable.
Of course. Well,
Critical.
yes.
Because I mean, if you're in a situation, you can only carry so much ammo with you. I mean, you have a couple of arrows with you and you reuse them. Could
Yeah,
be a
it's
good
true.
thing.
Keep pulling them out. I would just keep hitting the wrong thing, and it would
And why
break.
does he get all those? I mean, he's got so many weapons, and they're all in a big, huge duffel bag. You know, like you think.
Did he still have them? I thought he lost them when the.
No,
when
I know
the
that, but
bird
I'm
hit
saying,
him.
but even when he lost them, the way he was carrying them, it just
Yeah.
seemed like an odd way to be carrying a huge
Yeah.
amount of a cache of guns.
Yeah.
Just put it on the side of the horse, have it like organized, so you can take it out. It was. You need to be a little more organized with your options.
I think that they're definitely going with the badass route for Rick Grimes. I mean, the fact that he took the guy down, he already had a say. I mean, his Bill Pullman Independence Day-esque speech in the second episode, where he's like, "We're all in this together. We got to do this, and we're going to take care of it." I mean, that whole thing, and this seemed like he almost had a second little speech in that little clip there. I mean, we know that he's going to have a lot of those moments where he just rabble-rouses everybody and gets everybody together. That's got to be the thing to do.
Having a character whose morality becomes almost magnified during crises, just like the other person's, like he loses, the
Oh, yeah.
redneck loses it and is just causing a ruckus. He's almost like he's magnifying it, like, okay, wait a second. This is the end of the world. I need to step up, and my morals and my ethics and how I handle people has to be even higher, you know?
There's no gray zone in the zombie apocalypse. You're either a hero, a villain, or you just do a
meat.
lot of crying.
Or your meat.
Or your meat, exactly.
Your
You're a
lunch.
hero, a villain, or your meat. I like that. Well, with that, we're going to take it home and our epic sign-off, if we're all ready.
we have to practice this.
We have to practice
We have
it?
6. No. I'm just.
Oh,
in
we have
general.
6 episodes
We're
to
gonna get
practice this.
Exactly
There should be a
right on this
countdown.
There should be a countdown.
3,
In 3, 2, 1.
Aim for the head!